while for people to come in, or do we just want to just start?
Well, I think we can start.
Okay.
Yeah, go for it.
All right. Well, Jamarl, do you want to pick up with anything from where you left off earlier on your last video? Or?
In my last video, well, the one I did today, look, people. I try to be extraordinarily fair, and I got to be honest. The conversation is on race. I don't mind. I don't mind them because I don't feel like I have an attachment to them. If that makes sense, it's like I'm observing it in a sense. I understand this kind of historical weight associated with it. So it's like, yes, I can carry that historical weight. At the same token, I can leave that historical weight alone when I'm having a conversation in this way. That being said, I find this to be a case of people functioning in a particular context, and those people functioning from different reality boxes or reality frames, and they clashed. They just they hit head on, clash. Now, the point I'm making this when I think about this, if somebody thought to themselves, I don't think this group should be here, and in thinking to themselves,
okay, let's hold back. I think some people who might be seeing all this might be confused as about to exactly what happened. Does someone want to?
Yeah, it's true.
Start from the very beginning. Yep. I'm sorry I had to interrupt there.
No,
you're fine. You're fine.
Okay.
You're fine.
So, Jamarl, you were at the Antiwar conference. So
I was at the Antiwar conference.
What was the actual name of the group? Do you know?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Like I was at the Antiwar conference. My wife and I went to the main ones where they were having the conversations. And I do think I remember there being an African American group. I did not go to that group.
Claudia named it in her video, but I don't remember what the name was exactly.
Yeah, I don't remember what the name was. But to be fair, I don't remember what the name of any of those things were. I couldn't even tell you the name of the group itself or the conference itself, if I'm being honest. That's not my strong suit. But I do remember there being a group there for it.
Okay,
the wild part, this just seems maddening to me. Like, somebody sent me an email, and it was like, I'm sad to see that they were othering at the conference. I had no idea what that guy was talking about. And I suspect this is what the guy was talking about.
Okay.
If you're taking this perspective that, look, I can take the perspective that I like Claudia's perspective of all these people are just people. Everybody's just a person. Okay. Everywhere I've gone around the world, people have just been people. So go ahead, Ebon. I'm sorry.
No. I know. I want to get to these talking points, but basically what happened, and correct me if I'm incorrect, is that there was a black African American safe group in the Antiwar conference, and Claudia was there, and she had an interest in it, so she wanted to go and live stream the group when they were talking.
That's true.
And she talked with one of the people. Yeah, and she talked with one of the people there. One of the people said, "No, this is it's only for these people," and she had an issue with it. I don't know exactly what happened. I think you can go and watch a live stream with Anoa and I forget her name, Jacqueline.
Luqman, I believe.
Luqman, yes. And you can kind of get a picture there. When we're in this medium, it feels like a lot of people don't just write out, say people's names, and so everyone's just, what's going on? So you have to watch 5 or 6 videos just to kind of get a picture.
I know. I think there's kind of a sense of, I know I feel this way. I don't necessarily want to go out calling people out, you know what I mean, without them being here. So but we can't really talk about this, what happened, without talking about who and what. So I just pulled it up, and it was the Black Alliance for Peace. It was a 90-minute workshop. It was sponsored by the Black Alliance for Peace. It was open to all people of African descent at the conference. So I guess we all know the story now was that not that Claudia wasn't allowed in, but that she wasn't allowed to live stream.
Yeah, she wasn't allowed to record.
Right, okay. So it seemed to me from her video that part of it was that she was taken by surprise. Like, she didn't look, she just saw, this Black Alliance for Peace, and didn't read this, that it was only open to people of African descent. Just in the fine print, she didn't see that. So it seems like a little bit of it was, she was kind of taken aback in the moment. So I'll just put that out there. I think, for starters.
I think, oh God, man, I think it's just a fuck up. that sounds harsh, but come on. Yes, she goes into a meeting. They tell her she can't videotape. She sees somebody else there videotaping. She's like, what the hell? How come they can videotape and I can't? And she's in a meeting that's an African-American meeting. And yeah, she may have been overly impressed by the point that this is a black meeting of sorts. Mm-hmm. And she thinks to herself, they're letting that person videotape because they're black and they're not letting me do it because I'm white. Now, if that's the case, come on, that's just a mistake. That's literally an ideology bumping into somebody else's ideology. And if you're going to be in this quote unquote lefty circle, this progressive circle, you have to allow people their space. Like, for whatever reason, they didn't want her necessarily videotaping. For whatever reason, they felt they needed to have a group like that. What's the society that you want? And in the society that you want, do you want people to be able to have their own spaces? If they need that group for another 50 years, are you telling me they're wrong for needing that space for 50 years? There's a momentum that goes along with history. Let momentum take its course. Why are you trying to force them out of that circle? I mean, I'm saying it this way because many of the arguments that I've heard against it has been this thing of, well, man, this didn't involve me. I didn't have anything to do with it. Well, your roots are in history. There's no gap in history. There's no situation where there's 1 second that leaked from the other parts of history. You are rooted within history, whether you want it to or not. All of us are. So right. Let's stop pretending that there's no reason for her to have that particular group there. Now, the person flipping out is the catch. And it's like, it's just a mistake. She misunderstood. That was just a conversation that should have been had that didn't necessarily need to be this. That's literally a conversation to me.
I've been kind of joking about that I need to white hippie-splain this. I'm trying to be cautious of what jokes I make because none of this is really funny at all. But
it is. I'm sorry, it is, man. I understand whites get a particular way around race. And my wife kind of made this point to me. She was like, whites don't like to talk about race. It freaks them out. Fair enough. And I understand why. But we get a certain amount of latitude as African Americans to say certain things about race that whites can't necessarily say. Fair enough. That's that historical weight that goes along with the territory.
Right.
That being said, I don't have that. I try not to let that thing bother me, even though there are things that in this situation bother me. It's like I'm tethered to it, even though I don't necessarily want to be tethered to it. This is funny. I'm sorry. In my first 2 videos, I think I was being joking about it because I found this to be comical. It's like that's the way I regard this. Now people take it as, dude, you're saying you're being somewhat comical and jovial with this, and these people are taking this very seriously. That's fair enough. But come on, think of all the things that matter. Do you realize they're about to get rid of health care for millions of Americans? The Democrats knew about it. They didn't do anything about it. They're allowing it. Where is this on the list?
But
that's all I'm saying.
Go
for it. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I actually think this is a really critical moment, and I actually started tweeting a little bit with Anoa last night, and I didn't know of her. I hadn't heard, but I listened to her whole talk with Jacqueline Luqman. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. And I think I had seen Jacqueline on Tim's show before, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway. So I listened to the whole thing, and I had good, back and forth with her a little bit on Twitter last night. But I actually think I want to start with a little story, a small little anecdotal story, because people don't know me. If this gets circulated around because it's nobody. Here I am, suburban white lady. So I'm going to tell a little story. It was the 2012 election, and I'm in North Carolina, Chapel Hill. North Carolina is a funny state. I mean, we have pockets of very liberal blue, very similar to Vermont, where Claudia lives, or Debbie, but I'm not really going to get into that. Asheville and Chapel Hill. Okay. Well, I want to so very blue, liberal, largely white, very liberal, definitely voted for Obama. And then we have pretty much the rest of the state, which is widespread. Okay. Also, so I live in Chapel Hill, and then Durham is just adjacent, and Durham has a lot larger Black population. Anyway, so I was at a Target store that's kind of on the edge of Durham. A lot of Black employees there. I was at a Target store with my daughter, who was about 14 at the time, my older daughter. And we were going through the line at Target, and this very young Black girl was the cashier. And I just kind of chit chat with people. It's just what I do. And we were very cold shoulder, I will say, just rude. And I didn't really think much of it. And then, so we're standing, like we go through, she like didn't answer me, was just kind of eh. And my daughter was kind of like, oh, why is she being so rude? And then as we were leaving, like right behind us was an older Black lady who clearly the cashier didn't know. You could tell by the way she was talking to her, but all of a sudden she's just totally friendly with her.
Right.
So I understand that this is something Black people deal with this all the time, like from white people getting this kind of treatment. Like Shirley last night was talking about being treated a certain way in a store, that you get followed around or whatever. Anyway, so we leave, and my daughter, being 14, she was like, oh, why is she so rude? And I said to her, I said, this election right now, we have, Obama running again against Romney, and it was very, heated. And in this state, it's very divided, Black and white. And
yes, yeah.
So we had this long talk on the way home, and I basically said to my daughter, you need to let that roll off your back. If there was any being unfriendly to us because we're white at all, if that's this girl's experience, we don't know what her experience is. We don't know what her parents have lived through in this state. I mean, schools were segregated. People in their 60s still remember that, And so basically, like I said, my daughter was upset, and I realized, this is one of those moments. Some parents, if they're bigoted and actually racist, might be like, yeah, did you see how she acted and blah, 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 and just make it worse, right? Or I could have not really said anything. But I decided to say, you know what? We have to be more understanding about if there is animosity towards us, that it's grounded. There's reason for it. And so let me try to make sense of this. So I feel like with Claudia and certain white liberal progressives, that they're operating from a place of idealism. Like people, I'm going to say like us, but I'm this way. And I think it was probably not till about 5 years ago that I really kind of came to realize that colorblindness does not work.
No, it doesn't.
We can want it, but see, this is where I think I feel bad for Claudia, and people might get mad at me for saying this, but I really don't think she's mean-spirited. I think
no, God, no, no, I don't believe that.
I mean, if you just look at, and she got so upset because she's like, but I'm for Black Lives Matter, and I'm this and I'm that. But she's operating from a place of, see, we believe we're not the white people that are perpetuating. How do I put it? We believe everyone's equal. We don't want anyone to be judged by the color of their skin. We want to go ahead and get to that place that, I don't know, maybe we'll be in 800 years from now. But because we don't see it that way, we want it to go ahead and be colorblind. Does that make sense?
That's what I took it. I took it as, I want us to be at this spot. That's the way I took it. I honestly took it as operating from a good place. I want us to be at the spot. And it's like, yeah, but the world doesn't work that way. It's like the world isn't that way. There's a weight. There's a social weight to things. Like it's not magic. It didn't just happen that way. Pretending that it doesn't exist doesn't get you any further or any closer to the goal. It's like, I give an example. It's like saying the judicial system where the cops, they pull over African Americans 4 times more, or they arrest blacks 4 times more for pot. or for drug use. Now, you could be colorblind to that and say, no, it's just because of some other reason, even though the drug use is the same among all groups. You know, being colorblind to something that's an actual problem is somewhat of a problem in and of itself. Pretending that these things don't exist and pretending that there's no social weight, you know, we're just there. We're in Kumbaya land. That doesn't work. Like, I understand the whole thing of operating from idealism. I get it.
I don't think she actually wants to pretend that they don't exist. I think she's very aware that they exist. You know, I just looked at her Twitter page and she had quite a lot of stuff, you know, about Philando and the daughter in the car. I mean, I think from what I know, just reading her stuff, listening to her videos, she cares a lot. She just
I believe she does.
Yep. Yeah. So here's the one other perspective is she made a mistake. And I don't think we agree on that, and that she was operating from a basis of goodwill and not hate.
Yeah, that's my perspective. That's literally my perspective. That's been my perspective the entire time.
Yes.
But it's what happened after.
Well, yeah, and then she makes a video publicly about the situation and made it about...
And that becomes a problem.
Yeah, and that becomes a further problem.
Yeah, that becomes a major problem.
And she could have handled it differently. She could just, like Niko said earlier in his Facebook live stream. So if people want to go watch it, it's in the description link below. And I agree with certain points of Niko's too. And it's you could have handled it privately. Just listened. It didn't have to go public.
I agree with that. It just feels like, oh man, why is this something we're talking about? Meaning, yeah, you're right. Just contact the person. Like, just have the conversation. Because look, you might be wrong. What if you're wrong? Like, it's like when you go out and do a video like that, what if you're wrong? When you have 10,000 subscribers or X number of people who are going to watch that, you might be wrong.
And I worry.
I have to go back and say, I was wrong, my bad. And at that point, it's too late.
Part of what I worry about, I really, really hope that Claudia will listen, because part of what I worry about is in her video, kind of near the end, I think she kept saying, and I stand by that we need to all treat each other. I think she wasn't thinking that the whole world is colorblind, or she felt like in that conference it should have been that way. And so
I understand.
But when she says, I stand by it, that we should all do this, it sounds like a digging in her heels, and that's not going to help anything. But I think she felt, I think she was attacked, with some good reason, but she was obviously just completely distraught, upset. And she said she had gotten more attacks than she did from all the Hillbots combined or something like that. But this is...
She's a person.
What?
She's a person. And right. She's a person. I'm making a point. She's a person. She makes... Look, people do things. They make mistakes. I'm not shocked that a person made a mistake. Look, you have this thing where they call it white liberals. I just call them leftists. Whether they're white or not, I don't care. I think the difference between those things is very minor, if I'm being honest. What are your values? What are the things you care about? And if the things that you care about are the same things I care about, I don't care about the other stuff. I assume, just on principle, that most leftists would not give a shit about race. That's my assumption. So if there's some kind of transgression in that spot, I don't assume that it has anything to do with race. Now, that could be a bad assumption. That could be a poor assumption. That's my assumption. If I'm dealing with other political spectrums, no, that's not my assumption. But for leftists, yes. So when I hear something like this, my first thought is, there's just a mistake. That's the way I see it. That's the view to which I take this. That's just a mistake.
So
anything that goes beyond that, I find to be ridiculous. And look, my perspective could be wrong. That's just the way I take it.
So I'm kind of uncomfortable talking about other people with them not present, but I'll just say.
Oh, agreed. I do so too. No, I agree. I'm not saying anything bad about Claudia. Right. If anything, I find her. Look, between the two perspectives, I like hers better. If I'm being honest, between the two perspectives, yes, I want to be in that kumbaya world. I do want to be in that kumbaya world.
We're a long time from that. I mean,
yes, that's the problem.
Especially what's happened. It's been ongoing, but high-profile cases recently. I mean, we can't expect Black America to just be like, okay, yeah, we're all, you know, there's no division.
Yeah, I want to put in some historical context here.
Race. Division is on class. It's on class. That's why these issues bug the shit out of me. The issue that you want to deal with, honestly, the issue that you're talking about, it's not race. Whether blacks think it, whether Asians think it, whether Hispanics think it, whatever they're thinking is wrong. Class is the issue. Race is the thing that's been papered over this thing to make people look at things that they don't need to look at. All of these people are just people. And if all of these people are just people and all these people have a finger in the pot, go for it. I'm sorry.
Sorry. So I think, yeah, class has to do with it. But when you have the same race of class, poor people, poor white people, poor black people, or poor indigenous people, you can see with the Flint water crisis and Standing Rock, race is the determining factor if the classes are the same.
Wait. To some degree, yes, but think of it. Let me ask you this: if half of the country is poor, half of the country, and we only make up 15%, who's the rest of those people? Who's the rest of those people? Whites make up 60-something% of this country. Those people are getting hurt also. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not saying that blacks aren't in desperate poverty. They are. When you look at the economic spectrum, we've been hammered. We've been absolutely hammered. I'm just making a point from the own context of the person who's in the situation of poverty. If you're white, you're feeling it just as bad as if you're black. It's not just the issue of race. It's the issue of class. If you have the majority of the country is in poverty, that's the issue of class. You have literally half of the country. Understand the context of 350 million Americans, and you split that in half, and you're saying half of those people are in poverty. That's the point what I'm making to you. Yes, you have these racial distinctions and these particular spectrums when you're looking at it, but when you're looking at the overarching map and you're saying, okay, what is the issue in my society?
I agree with you.
You have half poverty.
I agree with you on the overall aspect, but when you look into specific certain towns, certain areas, and when they have to make a choice,
that's true.
Okay, and also some historical context here. Okay, look at and I'm going to start from kind of recent to backwards. So recently, actually not recently, 1998, I believe, President Ronald Reagan gave reparations to Japanese concentration camp.
I saw that.
Right?
Yes,
it's $20,000, right? And they were only in concentration camps for 2.5 years. Think about that.
Doesn't matter how long you're in concentration camps. They rounded up from their homes.
Yes.
I'm not making reparations. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And then if you go further back, or actually more recently and further back, so indigenous people. So President Obama actually gave like $500 million to 17 different Native American tribes for some partial reparations. And there was actually, it was wanting to be more than that, but that was kind of what they got. Now
it would never happen to African Americans.
Yeah,
and would never happen.
Look at
whites would never allow that.
Exactly. So right now you got 400 to 500 years of enslavement, okay, and there's no reparations talk at all, right?
They would never allow it. It would never come up because whites don't regard their history honestly. Yeah. That's the truth. Even white liberals, I'm sorry, they don't. This idealism thing is the white liberal thing of, oh, let's paper over history. I'm saying you can engage history honestly. You can engage it honestly. And you can deal with those particular thickets of sorts. The problem with this racist issue is that people pile stuff onto it. Just have a goddamn conversation. Yes, this idea of reparations is a big deal. But there's a cultural, how can I say it? This is going to sound really bad. I honestly, there's a question that always lingers. Why do whites vote Republican? Why on earth do whites vote Republican? And for African Americans, that question is usually answered by they vote Republican because they're voting based on race, not because Republicans are giving them anything. When Donald Trump made the decision to run, he started going against Republican dogma. So he's saying, yes, I'm going to protect Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. He's going to lie, but yes, he's saying those things. Yes, I'm going to have a minimum wage of $10. I'm raising the minimum wage. Imagine that, a Republican talking about raising the minimum wage. That's amazing. if Republicans were so against these things before, if they were so in bed with cutting taxes and screwing over the middle class and hurting people in the country, then why on earth would they vote for Donald Trump? That's the question that lingers. The answer to that question is yes, race is a big factor in this country, and people vote in ways that are cultural, not necessarily based on policy. And so, yes, you're going to get Republican Party winning those things because those things become this issue of cultural identity of sorts. So in that case, yes, I think race matters. I'm sorry, go for it.
No, I'm just going to say, I just really feel like this that's happening right now with Claudia and Anoa, the whole issue, this is critical to the divide not continuing and people coming together in the progressive movement. Now, I think a lot of this stems from, honestly, as I was saying, like, there are a lot of people, like Vermont is mostly white. And so Claudia doesn't know because we're all still segregated. We're all still separated. Sometimes it's by class or it's by race.
But does that mean everyone in Vermont that's white doesn't know? Does Bernie Sanders does he not know?
Well, I would say, I mean, look, he's older, he's white. There were a lot of people that were saying that he wasn't getting some stuff that he kept saying.
They were lying
about only economics. Do you remember that?
They were lying. Those people were lying. I'm sorry, those people were lying. I mean, that was politics. That was purely politics. They were doing that because they wanted to tar him for minorities. They wanted to use race as a weapon.
I believe that Bernie Sanders is of the same kind of mindset as Claudia, as that it comes from this white idealism. You don't agree? It's okay. I just think that
yeah. I guess I chive at this thing of like, let me ask you this. Does Bernie Sanders need to understand black plight? Does he? I mean, it's like, do I need people to understand me? No, I don't. I don't. Give me my room. I give you your room. That's all I need. That's all we need. Like, it doesn't have to be this thing of, I need you to understand my pain, man. No, I don't. I don't. Treat me fairly. That's it.
Here's the thing. Bernie Sanders, you got pictures of him with the civil rights movement. So how does he not know?
Yes. Yeah, right. Yeah. I'm just making this point of, is that a prerequisite to dealing with one another? That's all I'm saying. If you're living in a society where you have all sorts of people, do you need to understand each and every one of those people to get along in the society? Or can you just be free to give that person your space? Like, is liberalism in essence, or leftism, whatever you want to call it, is that person has the space to be whoever that person wants to be?
Well, I've heard a lot from people saying that Bernie was making it only about class and even though he did do all of that,
Bernie was right.
Recognize that. But is that
right?
But there's a lot. I think there's a lot of Black America that doesn't agree. I mean, look, what do I know?
You're wrong. They're wrong. They're wrong. They're absolutely unequivocally wrong.
But
whether they agree or not,
have a different experience than a poor white person. Like, to me, I watched the dash cam of when Philando was shot, which is horrible to watch. But just the way that even the Diamond, the girlfriend, was ordered out of the car at gunpoint. I couldn't even believe what I was watching. Like, why is she doing that? And I thought to myself, really, if you just replace them with white people, you have to ask yourself if that ever would have even happened. Not just treating him, but the way she was treated. My God, I mean,
it wouldn't have.
We can't. I don't know.
No. You have a good point. I want to divide that point up a little bit, though. Yes, you have a good point. It goes beyond economics in the sense of, in my day-to-day interactions in a particular society, what am I going to encounter? And am I going to encounter things that makes my experience different than my white counterpart? So if I'm in a car, I get pulled over by a cop, am I going to have the same experience? No, I'm not. I'm sorry, I'm not. I don't believe it. I believe if Philando Castile was white, Philando Castile would be alive right now. If he was Bob Taub would have been home with his wife. That's what I believe. I honestly believe it. Now, the catch becomes, what do you need to do to get elected? That's the question. All that's nice. It's like, yes, that's true. That's a real reality that we deal with in regards to social living. what it takes to get elected. And if you're elected, do you have power to do something about those things? Yes. Now, if me talking about Philando Castile going to get me elected, no. I don't believe whites care. I know you guys, and maybe, look, to some degree, in a weird way, me saying live and let live is almost this, it's slightly derogatory. It's not meant to be that way. It's just meant my experience. I don't think whites care. So I don't think running on a message of Philando Castile is going to get you anywhere. I do think running on a message of economic improvement for everybody does. And one last point. Economics is freedom. Economics is freedom. Don't misunderstand me on that. Economics is freedom.
Well, meaning, that's very true. Like Martin Luther King Jr. said, what good does it do if I can sit at the counter if I can't buy a hamburger?
Yes, exactly. Like you're in the situation where my decision space is determined by how much money I have in my pocket. If I have no money in my pocket, I can't do squat. I am working.
But you can still. My daughter's gymnastics coach. She's white. She's married to a black man, and she told me the story about how he walked. I mean, this is just I know everybody has 1,000 of these stories, but he walks into a car dealership, and they walk him. He's going to buy a new car, and they walk him back to the used car lot, and he's like, it's just stuff like that, all the time. So anyway, I actually want to address something Debbie said, and again, I like talking about people when they're not present, especially I don't know her going after me. But I'm not going after her. I want to just address something she said. So in her video defending Claudia, she got very passionate about identity politics. And she was saying some stuff about, feminist.
I'm here. No, I'm here. Go for it.
Okay. So Kelley and Jamarl is a little bit mixed up because you went off camera. So that's okay.
Oh.
Next time, just cover your camera up, Jamarl.
Okay, my bad.
Okay, no problem.
My bad. I'm still here.
All right.
Okay.
I just gotta.
So she goes on talking about feminist movement stuff and around Hillary and all of that, and how we need to transcend that. Now, I'll get myself in more trouble here, but I agree with that. Like the women.
I agree with that too. I agree.
The women's march, like just you can see in some of our after hours talks. I'm like just bitch, excuse me, about the pussy hats. I mean, really, but here's why. It's not that I have a problem with a feminist march. It's that it was in the context of that poor Hillary lost because she's a woman, which is just total bullshit. So that's why I had a problem with that. And I agree with all of what Debbie was saying in that. Like, we need to ideally, if we could get beyond all of this, all of these labels, then that would be great. But I think when it comes specifically to racial issues, that we are nowhere near that. And like I said, it's been hard for me to come to this because I was operating, like I said, probably about 5 years ago, where Claudia is that let's just go ahead. I feel this way, so this is how it is. But you can't think that way. And one of the things that kind of changed my mind, a friend of mine was taking some kind of social justice class and asked me to look at a paper that she had written. And I wish I could remember the author's name, but she wrote something about her son's school and that she was upset because it was I think it was in New York somewhere, Brooklyn, I don't know, mostly white liberal school, or largely white, and that there was some discussion, Black History Month, and the teacher says something about, well, we don't see color, and she got very upset about that. But see, for some of us, I don't know how. I'm trying to white hippie explain it. It's that we don't judge other people on the color of their skin. We want it to be where we all transcend that. So to have to go, but we do have to. We're supposed to treat people differently based on, yes, because we need to understand they're still going through this. The condition in our society is such that driving while Black is dangerous, So we can't ignore that. And I think I don't know her, but I think that Claudia just was partly taken by surprise and reacted very badly. And then I think she got very upset because people started attacking her, calling her a white supremacist and all this stuff, which is
Jesus Christ.
Really not, is so far off base. I don't think that's
amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's not gonna help anything. But she also can't dig in her heels and say, we're already here at this colorblind place, because we're not anywhere near there.
No, we're not. I agree. It's just, yeah, man. I agree. I'll just say, because I agree from jump. It's like, yes, I don't think she's coming from a bad place. No, the woman is not a white supremacist. You just have people who pile in. It's like children at school, piling in.
No.
And she said, because of you, I think she said to Anoa, because of you, I will stay away from black people or something. I was like, oh, God.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Wow.
No, so here's the thing. Do you think they would ever get on a panel and talk to each other like this? Or do you think
I would prefer their just
public,
have a talk.
Do you think their public persona kind of prevents them to have a public discussion like this?
Do you mean
their persona is just leftists? I mean, it depends on how they identify themselves. I personally identify both of them as just leftists. Like, and maybe that's my problem. That's why I'm missing this. I look at both of them as being leftists. I don't see the yes, I know Anoa is African American, and I know she has certain things associated with it, a certain weight associated with it. Being African American, being a woman, so forth. So I know there are labels associated with her. So I take it as it is. But I just honestly consider both of these people are in the leftist sandbox. Talk. It's like having a conversation. Jesus Christ.
Well, see, like Claudia doesn't even understand. So she said, I'm not this white privilege. I don't think she even grasps that. I'm sorry, but I don't think she grasps what that means, because she heard white privilege and she's like, I grew up poor in this little village and my mother was a cleaning lady, and I'm not privileged. And that's not what that means. That means that you have a certain advantage as someone with white skin, no matter how poor you are. So I think she wasn't really understanding that, and she was getting defensive on that. Like, look, I've struggled too.
She was, but again, you're like, it's like, are you a person or not? As a person, will you behave in that way? Yes, I find that to be a natural way people behave when they feel attacked. And I don't want you to think I'm giving her a pass. That's not what it is. I look at these things from the perspective of how do people behave? Is it uncommon for a person who, when they feel attacked, to kind of lash out in a way that doesn't necessarily help their side? Yes, it does. Even when they're wrong. Do people lash out? Yes, they do. If she felt she was being attacked and she felt they're attacking me in this very particular way. And understand, and what I mean, a very particular way, they're attacking her in a very particular way in regards to race. I would imagine she feels somewhat uncomfortable in this particular attack, being white. Anyway, particularly being a leftist. I mean, I understand, like, this idea of a white leftist as being this thing of, I want to be beyond race and everything else, and I am being attacked in this very particular part where I shouldn't be a weak spot. Like, this should not be a weak spot for me. I shouldn't be getting hit in this particular spot.
Well, look, I'll admit, as a white progressive person who, there are times I feel like you have to kind of walk on eggshells because you don't know what's right.
That's true.
I try to shut up usually, but we make mistakes because we don't understand. And part of what sucks about that, why we don't understand, is because we are still so separated in our communities.
No, that's not it. No. You're being too kind. That's not what it is.
Okay.
People want other people to behave in particular ways, and that's always going to be a problem, regardless of what it is. And particularly in leftist circles will say, "Oh, that's racist. That's white supremacist. That's something, whatever the label." They would use these things to shut up debate and shut up conversation. Mm-hmm. The left is a pain in the ass on this front. They're a pain in the ass on this front because it's almost like you can't say whatever you want to say. So the things that need to be said aren't said. Meaning you're going to get hit with some label or anything else. I say those things.
Yes.
They can go for they'll say those things.
And you would think that the left would be the last one to not.
It would be the libs. That would be the people who would say, be free with your speech. But they're the opposite.
Exactly.
They're the opposite. And the idea that they're calling that woman a white supremacist is fucking insane. That is insane. There is no context to which Claudia was behaving as a white supremacist.
I have read the statement, that colorblind is the new racism. I don't know. I feel like I do feel like that's a little bit harsh. It's more of a misunderstanding. But this is an opportunity, I think, honestly, for Claudia let's say I think she's reacting out of being attacked, and that's upsetting. But it's an opportunity for her to recognize that, yes, those people at that conference needed their space, and that we as white people don't have a place to tell them that they can't. We're just not there, and we need to step aside and say. And ideally, like I said, a couple hundred years from now, hopefully that isn't the case. I said last night when we're all cappuccino colored, and it doesn't matter anymore. But I mean, until then, we have to go. We don't know that. I don't know your experience. It's not for me to be here in it, and I'm going to respect your space.
Dude, does it need to be put in those terms? I guess that's what I'm asking. Is it possible to just say that person, whoever that person is, black, white, Arab, Hispanic, man, woman, child, whatever it is, that person wants to catch aliens, this other guy wants to get spiritual, this other guy wants to do something else. Can we just say that all of us are enjoying this particular experience? We're in this reality frame, this game space. And let those people attend to their devices. If that group wants to accrue around identity, let them do it. Can we just I'm slightly uncomfortable with this thing of we white people have to do X. Can it just be, hey, as a person, let that person be that person? That's my point. That's the only point I'm getting at.
I mean, that would be ideal, but that would be ideal. But
that would be ideal because I think that's the only way. That's the only society that you get where people can be who they are. That's the only society. There's no, I defy you to name me any other society that you can design where people can be who they are and you don't allow people the space to be who they are. There has to be this degree of people are people. They're going to accrue in ways they accrue. You can be 400 years into the future and you might have people who say, hey, this specific thing that for whatever reason defines us in a specific way. I would like to meet other people who are that way. It's not good, bad, or anything else. It's just who they are. I understand there's a feeling, but it's like, come on, man, just let people be who they are.
So,
and this is
it's on We Are the Media. Anyway, it's Anoa's response, basically.
I've read it.
You've read it? Okay.
Yeah, I've read it.
I'm just looking at, one by one, what their her problems were about it.
So one thing that another thing to add is when I was listening to Claudia and Debbie, is they add on this idea that if a marginalized people, race, class, religion, what have you, just like the Jewish people in Nazi Germany and the situation with Israel Palestine, they bring that up. Is when you give power to marginalized people, they start to abuse that power because when they start being attacked for what they do, they use the victimization clause. Basically, they say, "Oh, we were a victim, so if you're trying to stop us, you're basically a Nazi, right? If you're Jewish."
I see.
So that in that perspective, they're saying, "Well, we don't want that to happen with African Americans in America. We don't want to give them power because then they'll use that and become potentially I didn't like that argument at all."
I have to be honest. I didn't hear Debbie's response to this. I didn't even know Debbie had I saw that Debbie had a response in the Noah's thing, but all right, let's hit it on. Let's assume the position. So, is it a situation? Does it make common sense? Or is it reasonable to any degree that's reasonable that a class of people who were marginalized, let's say African Americans in this country, if they were somehow to get power, that they would somehow turn around and use whatever that takes place to say, well, we did this because we were victimized in this country and now we have an escape clause. All right, in debate, if you're put, let's assume this. Let's be dangerous. In debates, when you're having conversations, if you're a white person, you make that case of you're just saying that because, you know, you're in that particular marginalized class. That looks bad. That looks bad. That looks really bad. But the question is it true? Regardless of how it looks, is it true? I guess it depends on the situation. But it doesn't apply here. It just doesn't apply here in any clean way. Like this is not a situation where somebody, where they're like, well, I give you a perfect example. I'm having a conversation with this guy. We're playing chess. We're at the chess club. And him and this other guy, this African American, they're back and forth in a conversation. And at the end of the conversation, the guy said, "You just said that because I'm black." Now, the white guy looks at me and I have no fucking clue what he's talking about, because I had no fucking clue what he was talking about. And it's like, what are you supposed to do in that situation? Like, from the standpoint of the African American, he's saying that. Either he means it, and if he means it, what is your position as a white person? What does it look like? Not necessarily what's true, but what does it look like? It looks bad. It just looks bad. You know, you look at. So yes, you can use the fact that you were somewhat of a subjugated class to kind of take those type of arguments. But is that what takes place? I'm unaware of that taking place on this massive scale. And if that's the case, Obama was in power. Obama did not bring the hammer down on anybody to any real degree. I don't see it. I honestly don't see it. In South Africa, when those South Africans took over, they didn't put the hammer down on anybody. Like, there was no situation where they just bashed the white population. That didn't happen. Mm-hmm. It didn't happen. I love Debbie to death, but on this one, yes, potentially, no, in reality. See, that's what I'm going with that.
All of this, like I said, it's a landmine. You feel like walking in, you know. My daughter.
But I don't have any feelings about it. That's what I mean. I think it's a landmine, depending on your race and depending on the person. I have no feelings about talking about any of this stuff. But I do know, as whites, you do. Mm-hmm. As whites, you do. Because in your mind, I don't want to be called a racist. Now, the catch is, from the leftist side, that attack hurts. That attack hurts. That attack bites. That is one of those things. It's like one of those whips with the spikes in it.
Well, because
how dare you call me a racist?
I'm sure Claudia is just screaming from the inside, like, I'm on your side. You know that.
Yes, right. It's like you're calling me a racist, and
There's just some of it that she's not.
Because in all honesty, she is the furthest thing from it. That's the reality of it. The attack is wrong. It's not a fair attack. That's why I don't like these conversations in this context, because the context is all wrong. A woman is not a racist. She's the furthest thing from it. And if that's the attack you're using, you're fucking wrong. You're wrong. There are other attacks you can use, but that's not one of them. And yet, that's the one that bites the most.
But I think if they, as pretty vocal, you know, people in the progressive movement, dig in their heels on this and don't decide to try to listen to people like Anoa and get somewhere with this, I really fear what this means for people coming together. And in this case, I really think it's for Claudia to listen. I think her heart's in the right place, but I think if she digs in her heels, I don't know. So
I don't think she's going to dig in her heels.
Listening to this, I don't know if she would, maybe because of you, but I really of you, Jamarl. But I really encourage her. No, I mean, well, because she doesn't know me. She doesn't know who I am.
Oh, fair.
So you've had already done some videos on it and stuff, but I would just encourage her to please try to just listen to the other side and why what she did and said was offensive, and to try to try to just deflect those attacks and say, okay, you know, and not take them personally and try to go forward on them.
I would say to that point, if she does do that, she'll blow up good in a good way. Mm-hmm. Because owning up to a mistake is just awesome.
It's awesome in liberal circles. It gets liberal out of bed in the morning. It's like, yes.
Yeah.
We've grounded somebody into the ground and made them capitulate. Yes. But here's a question. Let me ask you this. You made the example of the guy who was at the auto shop, or the guy who took the guy to the car and said, all right, we're going to go past the new cars and go to the old cars because you're an African American and certainly you can't afford it.
And she said dressed in a business suit and everything.
No, so let's call the guy Bob. Let's say Bob an auto guy, Bob the car guy. Bob the car guy grew up in whenever he grew up. And as he grew up in that particular place, he went to school, he ate his Cheerios. He did all these things that other people do when they're growing up. He went to college. He might have went to college, who knows? I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. He went to college. And he ends up as a car salesman. Bob is looking at the world in a sense of saying, I'm trying to do the right thing. That's it. He's just an average guy, whatever the average guy means. He meets an African American, and his experience with the African Americans are little to non-existent. And he says, certainly this guy is dirt broke. So I'm not even going to put him in the bad position of having to say, no, you can't afford these cars. And hey, let's call Bob an asshole. Let's say he was an asshole and say, okay, this guy can't afford these cars. So I'm just going to take him back to the used car lot. From Bob's context, Bob doesn't have any experience dealing with this. If Bob has no experience dealing with this, can Bob be blamed for something he has no experience with? Meaning, if Bob is in a societal fabric that causes, or at the very least pushes him through a cavern, or pushes him along the way in a certain way, based on experiences, based on the people he's met, his society, and everything else, well, he just doesn't have that experience. Can you blame somebody for not having a particular experience? That's where I fall in those things. It's like, I can't blame the guy because the guy didn't come across anything that pushed him in that particular way. So it's like, the only thing I can do for the guy is saying, this is a mistake. This guy doesn't understand.
Yeah. Well,
now, no, go for it.
Okay. So, but what is the car dealership, the salesperson's, if it wasn't him at all, if it was just normal white person, what would be the first thing out of his mouth? It's like, hello, you're looking to buy a new car today. What are you looking to spend? But
no, I'm saying he made assumptions.
Yeah,
he did make assumptions. He made assumptions based off something he did not know.
Yeah. You're saying
that's what I'm getting at.
It's the fabric of...
I'm saying to some degree you have to take the society into account. That's what I'm saying. Meaning that guy, if that just an average guy, let's assume for the moment he's just an average guy. Do you think the average guy means bad? And if your answer is yes, then okay, then that's a different conversation.
No, I think that we're too separated still. Look, how do I put it? Claudia talks in part of her video about her experience in Germany where she lived near the base, and she just remembers running through a meadow with other kids, including some black kids. I mean, it's hippie paradise.
She's German. Yeah, she's German. She's German.
And that's beautiful and all, and that's her experience, and that's what she wants things to be. And look, I hate to be that white person that says my one black friend, but I lived in mostly white communities growing up, and I had one very good black friend when I was 13, a girl, and we were like glue together. And so that's kind of how I was too, like Claudia. Like I didn't see it that way, and I grew up, I had a very racist stepfather, and I just ignored him. I thought he was an idiot. So, but from a very young age. But so when you have that sort of idealism in your head, that's your perspective, that's your experience. My husband, on the other hand, grew up very poor in Georgia and went to a predominantly black high school. And so his experience, he knows, has a lot of experience with what his friends kind of went through, dealing with the rednecks that were terrible to them, So I've learned a lot through him that I wouldn't have ever known, just because I didn't experience it. And so all of us, all we can do really, I think it's a very rare person that can really transcend and see things outside their own bubble, whatever that is. So as long as we are really still that segregated by economics, by class, whatever, we can't understand another group's perspective unless we're in it, unless we experience it.
I think as an Asian, it's kind of funny seeing the whole white-black divide. I mean, racism against Asians, I like to joke a lot because we don't really get the bad part of racism. We get the assumptions that math, you're too smart, you shouldn't get in to universities automatically. We need to limit Asians in universities because you guys are too smart.
Right.
You've got like small penises, peni, whatever. And I'm like, okay, half the Earth's population are Asian. It doesn't matter if you have small penises. It seems to, whatever. It feels like there's nothing really bad you can really say about Asians as a race, and we're like in this not negative, not positive. We're like a neutral. I feel
it's like a neutral racism.
Yeah.
Well, you are the tech whiz here, Ebon.
Oh, hey, look, that's racist right there. That's funny. But no, it's true though, right? Because we come from like certain Asians come from a context of they're just really. Right brain, whatever you say. We're just really good at
left brain.
Left brain. I see. I'm all mixed up.
Well, see now here's an example of not know. I'm going to tell a joke, and I might get hate for it, but I'm just going to do it anyway because I don't ever
why do you care so much about getting hate?
Because I don't want to be misunderstood, and because I'm very. I try to be very respectful of the fact that I don't understand the Black experience.
I understand. I understand. But my husband, put it this way. You're in a leftist sandbox. You're in a leftist sandbox. That's
not entirely, but
okay. Well, close to leftist sandbox. At the very least, these people who are swimming in this part are leftist sandbox. Do you believe that in a leftist sandbox, people are going to have certain ideas in the sense of, I kind of want us to be just one? Meaning, I just want to see people as people. Mm-hmm. Like, I assume that. And so any thought that I'm taking, I assume that going in. Now, if somebody says a joke that's somewhat racist, it's
isn't a racist joke.
No, I don't think it is. But I'm trying to think the worst thing that you could possibly say as a joke. Because otherwise, you shouldn't care. There are going to be certain things where you're going to be misunderstood regardless of what you do. It just is.
It's also about where your heart is too in it. So all I was going to say is that because my husband grew up, going to a school and he had a lot of Black friends, he sometimes says he has my 12-year-old daughter, and when she comes out of the bathroom saying, "Don't nobody go in there for 35, 45 minutes." Like quotes from Friday and stuff. Okay. Now, is that just bad for me to even? I think it's funny, but honestly, my upbringing, I might not have ever been exposed to some of the stuff that he, the music he listens to. He's just playing Public Enemy, and he's not trying to.
Nice.
It's not, I guess, culture, but is that inappropriate culture? I mean, he just likes it.
Why would it be inappropriate?
Well, because somebody might find that.
What context?
I don't know.
What I'm getting at is, what context do you believe looks at that and says that's inappropriate? What reality box? Like, what would be the reality box? Now, look, you may have some. I've heard people say, white people shouldn't wear dreads. I think those people are ridiculous also.
They haven't been to Asheville, North Carolina. There's some serious hippie dreads there. No.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the point I'm getting at is people are people. Mm-hmm. If you're exposed to something, yes, you're going to do the thing that you're exposed to. If you're white and you grew up in a Black neighborhood, you're probably going to act a particular way. If you're Black and grew up in a white neighborhood, you're probably going to act a particular way. If you're Black and grew up in Vietnam, you're probably going to act a particular way. Mm-hmm. That's all I'm saying. These things, it's not like people, I'm going to decide to be this particular person. No, you grow up. Yes, there's an element of you that's you, but all these other elements are bumping into other things and kind of shaping your personality. If I grow up in a society and I'm exposed to Frank Sinatra, I'm going to fucking love Frank Sinatra. I don't care what race you are. in that sense. I love Sinatra. I love classical music. I love all these things. I also love rap. Mm-hmm. You can integrate those things. Those things are not necessarily separate and distinct.
Absolutely.
People do things. They create music. They listen to particular music that they like. People go places. Those things. I just don't like this chain of race. That's all. I'm sick of this chain of race.
Well, I think, Jamarl, you are a little bit towards where Claudia is. I mean,
yes, I am.
You want
but the difference is, no, it is. But the difference is, I understand the societal weight. That's the difference. Yeah. I can be here and say, look, I'm sick of these things of race. But at the same token, I recognize that people have their own thing. Like they have their own reality boxes. I don't need to force their boxes to close. I don't need to say, I need you to destroy that and be something else. I don't need it. I understand where those people are coming from. And I understand the weight associated. If I'm watching James Baldwin have this conversation with Malcolm X, and they're debating, literally, James Baldwin and Malcolm X. Malcolm X is fucking intense. Like it's one thing to see a picture of Malcolm X. It's another thing to hear him talk and to hear him have these debates on integration. He is intense. He is intense. He's at a level of intensity I don't think I've seen in real life. And he's having this conversation with James Baldwin. And James Baldwin is right in this conversation. But James Baldwin is making his point. We have a complex history. We've been segregated, or we've been integrated from the time we were brought to this country. They would just put that shit into law. And then Malcolm X is making this point. We need to be separate. If we're not going to have equality now, we need to be separate right now at this very moment. Baldwin is making this point. It's a complicated history. And even if you leave today, you're still an American. It doesn't matter if you leave. You're still the things that you interact with. Like when you interact with people, in a sense, you are an American citizen. When I go abroad, I am an American citizen. Like, so I'm making this point of, yes, I get it. It's like these issues are thickets of sorts. There's a weight to these things just because of what people went through in order to accrue this level of what they would call, to some degree of equality, or at the very least some parity in the system. But I don't like to be bound by those things. So it's like, yes, I'm cognitively aware of it. All things being equal, no, I don't want to be bound by them.
No, I will say, and I will preface this with, far be it from me to tell any Black parent or what to do, but I will say it would be, it's not helpful if you are teaching your kid, if you have an experience, all your experience with white people is bad. I mean, we're not all like that. There are plenty of us that want equality, believe in it, and we're on your side. So there is that is perpetuating, and that's not reverse racism. That's the wrong term. Maybe it's bigotry. I remember hearing, what's his name, Kamau Bell? Is that his name? I don't know how to pronounce his first name. Yeah, he had a show on CNN where he had gone into somewhere with the Klan. Oh my God, it was great. But he talks about, he's like, yes, I have Black family members that are very against white people, and and so that we can't deny that exists. And it would be helpful if that wasn't perpetuated. If certain people weren't teaching that we're all that way. But then again, I still say, given the context, given the history, I take it upon myself, like I told my daughter, to let that roll off your back. Don't take that personally. You don't know her experience, and we're talking, those are the people that have been oppressed. You have to look at the history and not get offended. Don't carry that with you. Just let it go. So I always use the term context. I mean, honestly, I do. Because there are certain behaviors that could be bad that when you have context, you understand the behavior, even though you hate the behavior. Mm-hmm. Like it's like, so, yeah, all right. So let's say somebody's in the 60s. They lived in the 60s. The bad things happen to their particular family. Mm-hmm. Is it more likely for that person to have negative feelings towards whites or not? The answer is, of course, yes. If anything that happens to you, that negative that you perceive is coming from some source, yeah, you're going to dislike that source. Is it crazy for that person to have those feelings? No, it's not. It's not. Is it helpful? No, it's not. Like, all those things are true. Like, you can have all of those things to be absolutely true, meaning all those things. Like, you could say, yes, it's not helpful for me to tell somebody that this particular person or this particular race is going to be against you and everything that you do. All of them are like it. That's not helpful. Is it understandable that the person can be that way? Yes, it is. It is. Both of those things are absolutely true. Now, that being said, I don't know anybody who does that. Like, I don't have anybody in my family who thinks that way. I have people in my family who have certain ideas of whites, but I don't have who have that thing of everybody.
I don't know. In fact, I don't know anybody who thinks that way.
Did they have better experiences? I mean, what's the?
My grandmother was a few ways away from slavery, like or had her grandmother was in slavery. It was something to that effect. Like she was like that close, like it was within her lifetime. My grandfather is half Cherokee or part Cherokee. I think he's half Cherokee. His grandfather. See, I don't know if that was slavery or anything else. That gets a little murky because you get into the Indian side of the family, Native American side of the family. But my grandmother is just a particular type of woman who that would not. She's just not that way. She's just not that way. She believes in this God thing, and in believing in this God thing, she takes it somewhat seriously. I tend to believe that people conform religion to them, not the other way around. Mm-hmm. And so my grandmother's probably just that way of not using that in that way. She just looks at it as this is the way life is, and this is what we went through, and I'm going to be a better person than this. That's just the way she is. So she's a bad example to use for that.
Okay. So we're going up past the hour. Do we want to stop and take questions from people in live chat?
I think questions would be good. Yes. Okay.
We have questions. If we have questions, absolutely.
All right. So anyone, it takes a while for the live chat to catch up to where we're talking. So we'll wait a little bit. So far, they've just been trying to make me smile or laugh.
Okay. So I'm gonna you were talking about your friend or that said that happened because I'm black. So my younger daughter came home from school one day and she was telling me this story, and she says, a bunch of kids were misbehaving, a large group of them. A lot of them were, and she tells me it's segregated at school largely still, and a lot of them were black in this group, and then they got in trouble. And one of them says to the teacher, oh, it's just because we're black. And then this other white kid says the same thing, like, it's because I'm black. I don't know. And it's just kids. I don't know. They absorb all this stuff and they repeat these things. But so this is really deep. I hope I can make this make sense. So my daughter is noticing. This is a fact. And I'm not, she's noticing a lot of the kids that are mostly boys having more, this is middle school, behavioral issues, get in trouble more. Now there's evidence that is because they get disciplined more if they're black. But, we have conversations about, what is their home life like? What is their experience like? And I try really hard to talk to a 12-year-old about the history of what they've dealt with for generations.
So then I get into the answer that Jake Smith asks. He asks, what is the mechanism for racism? Are we born racist? So who wants to?
No, we're not.
No.
We're not born racist. That's a societal thing. That's a failing of your society. That's what that is. That's an absolute and utterly failing of your society. And with one caveat, if you create a situation of scarcity where people have certain needs to be met, then yes, you can get the situation where people will sort of crew around a particular thing to protect that thing. And in the case of racism, though, no, that's society. Think of it this way. If you were brought up, you're Jewish, and you were brought up in a German society, would you be a Nazi? Yes, you'd be a Nazi. It's not the thing in your head. There may be something that kicks in that pulls people around to other people in that sense of saying, I look like this person, so yes, I want to be around this person.
So there's a reason why poor white. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go for it.
There's a reason why poor whites tend to be the most racist. It's pretty simple psychology, I think, is that they need someone to say, oh, this person is beneath me.
The other.
And then it's also, but it's taught. And then, I'm not going to name names.
I think it's taught. No, I think it's taught.
Parents say things to their kids. It might seem subtle. I've heard it. I've heard it from my own half sister. As she's become more and more, I've talked about this. She's dating a North Carolina state trooper. That's most definitely racist. But she will say things, and she doesn't even and she wasn't like this 10 years ago, but she will say things, and I'm like, oh my God. She doesn't even realize what she's saying it's subtle, but it seeps in very young.
You must understand, to some degree, it's confirmation bias. It's the moment that you're kind of tweaked in that way. Because understand, it's also the society itself. It's not as bad. Don't get me wrong. It's not the 60s. Looking at 60s literature, man, when you get into the 40s, 50s, 20s, 30s, and you see this literature, the way they hold African Americans, it's amazing. Conversations that they would have, the way they would talk about, when you're talking about people, it's amazing.
But all that still happens. It's just not as public. I think all
right. It's not as public, but that's the question becomes: is that a positive?
Well, yes, it is, but
I think it's a positive. I think society, for the most part, has momentum associated with it. And
but then again, I think it was in the talk with Anoa. It was something about like, yeah, I'd rather know a wolf than not be able to tell the sheep.
Yeah, saying essentially, I would rather that person be openly and hostile, racist towards me. No, I don't want that person to be openly hostile and racist towards me. I want the person to lead me to my devices. That's what I want. No, seriously, I'm libertarian in this sense. I really am. I guess the closest. I have no particular political ideology other than do what's best for people in the planet. That's it. My ideology comes out of that, which means that for the most part, people, I just see them as people.
So did you not experience racism? I mean, where are you in this? You're in the South or no?
I'm in the South. I'm in the heart of the Confederacy, Richmond, Virginia.
Okay, I thought
so. Yeah, right. Heart of the Confederacy.
So, two more questions from the live chat, if we want to get to them.
Mm-hmm.
Go for it.
Okay. So, Ain't No Smiling Faces L has a question. Do we find it ironic that Dr. King's dream was for kids to grow up not seeing race, yet we have leftist white people getting bashed for being naive about race issues? And Trudy Caswell asks, should white people join Black Lives Matter?
Yes, why not?
If Black Lives Matter wants them there.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's their call.
And so,
well, yeah, I mean, they're a group, so they can choose what they want. But yes,
back off if it's not your place. I just feel very strongly about that.
What about
it's wait. One point on this, just one point.
Okay.
All right, look, if any progress wants to be made, I've sat at 3 of these conferences. I've been to 3: the Left Forum, People Summit, and the World Conference. And in all 3 of these conferences, the main story that I've heard so far has been the conflict between somebody stepping over somebody else's turf, in that sense. A white woman going into a black group wanting to take a photo. If you're talking about making progress, and you're talking about moving and all this other stuff, should white people join Black Lives Matter? The question becomes, should whites join into things that blacks care about? Meaning, if you're going to have rallies, you're going to have a women's march. Okay, that's great. You're going to have a mixed group. When things matter, like Philando Castile, or when somebody gets shot, somebody gets hurt, are you going to have people joining in this kind of solidarity in that sense? Meaning, it's not just blacks, it's everybody. I think that's what you're getting at with the heart of the matter, with the whole, should whites join Black Lives Matter? Yes. Anybody should join Black Lives Matter that care about lives. But it has to go both ways. Like, I guess that's what I'm trying to say. And I may be saying this poorly. It has to go along racial lines. That's the point I'm making.
Ariel mentioned that the only things that made her feel any better at all about what happened with Philando, she's just crying. And she saw, though, that like in all the people marching, that it was a great mix of everybody, all ages, all races. And that's great. But I do just feel like that we should respect certain spaces, I guess.
Oh, I agree. But again, you must understand, my philosophical point on this is leave people to their own devices. If that group wants to form, let that group form. It's almost like, let me think of it this way. If you wanted to have your life any way you wanted to have your life, any way you wanted to, that would, to some degree, mean that you would want to be able to be left to your own devices if you wanted to be left to your own devices. But it also meant that if you wanted to get along with somebody else who, for whatever reason, whatever distinct thing that that group decided to get along with, you have to leave them to their devices. It works both ways. That's the point I'm trying to get at. If Black Lives Matter wants, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, did we answer the other question adequately?
Dr. King's dream, the irony.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
I think it's sad, and I think that I can't say this enough times, and that's why I came on here. And I know I might open myself up to criticism, but this is a critical moment. I really believe this is critical, because if we don't get past this, with Claudia, and if we don't get past this, I don't see how we join together, which is absolutely necessary. We all know that the system wants to divide us up, right? And it's been very successful in doing that. So yeah, is it ironic? Yes, but I just think, I don't know, there's work to do there. I just hope that both sides are willing to do that.
Okay, one last.
It's easy to get past this. You just do.
Yeah.
This is a choice. One
last question. So Jay McClinton asks, do you think some politicians use racism to divide one group against another?
Yes. That's politics.
Most of them?
Yes, that's politics. Identity politics. You have one group that would get African Americans and hold them so close. It was like, I love you, but I'm not going to do anything for you. And no, you're not going to get anything. But yes, you're going to vote for me because I'm going to protect you from that boogeyman. You have the other group that runs this kind of subtle racism. I'm sorry, it is. I know guys hate it when I say Donald Trump is running a racist campaign. I'm sorry, he is. That Make America Great Again is this kind of dog whistle of sorts. I have a hard time. It's indefensible to me to run a campaign or start a campaign saying Mexicans are rapists and drug dealers. That's indefensible to me. Like, look at that and say that wasn't racist at all. Now, maybe my context is taken in a particular way. Fair enough. This might be my liberal showing. Fair enough. That looks bad. Yes, they do. That's all they use. Democratic Party and Republican Party, that is all they use. Democrats don't want to talk about economics. That is their wheelhouse. That is the thing that allowed them to carry such weight in the 40s and 50s. When they gave that up, the only conversation they were having was about identity. And guess what? They're losing that conversation.
So I want to make kind of a bold statement here, but
go for it.
I actually think that the white liberal idealism, I'll just call it the hippie whatever, Claudia's position, that it gets a little bit too close to all lives matter. Does that make sense?
It does, not intentionally though. And it doesn't come from the same place.
But it's like saying
place.
that.
I find it's like this.
It comes from a different place.
It's like this. We want to get to all lives matter, but right now there are other lives that are way behind, and we need to bring them up to speed.
Right. Yeah. Right. That's perfect.
Right.
That's perfect.
And I think maybe Claudia could take this moment and go, "Oh my God, how I felt in that," and I wasn't allowed because the color of my skin, and take that moment and go, wow, that's what other people deal with all the time.
But it wasn't because of the color of her skin. That's the point I'm getting at. Like, she didn't know that. She didn't know that. She did not know that. It had nothing.
Unless she read the fine print.
It had anything to do with the color of her skin. That's the point I'm getting.
She should have I think she should have left. I really still just think she was.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I mean, at that point, if you're in a group that's for African Americans, whether you believe it or not, I mean, whether you know it or not, and they ask you, can you not videotape? I don't think it's crazy for me to go to any group, whether that was at any of the forum meetings, and they say, hey, you can't videotape in here. Mm-hmm. Okay, I understand. I can't videotape in this group. What does that have to do with race? Like, you know what I mean? It's like, well, why does that necessarily is automatically in the context of race? That's the point I don't quite get. That's the point where she completely loses me in this particular argument. I don't think it had to do with race. That's all. I don't know what her white skin was going to do to the video. I just don't.
So do we have any more questions? Or
nope, I think that this should be good for tonight. Well, there's Jamarl always makes videos. Everyone else always makes videos. Heck, we're on after hours. Anything goes. So we always make videos. So we can always talk about this.
How do you feel about linking the I mean, I'm not trying to take one side or another here, but I think what Anoa wrote, I think this is actually written by her. Let me make sure.
Yeah, she wrote it. Yeah, she wrote it.
Okay. But maybe posting this, if I don't know if you feel about that, Ebon.
Go for it.
Posting this where?
Like underneath underneath the video or something.
I
don't know.
I mean, maybe. I've got all the links to all the videos of what everyone made. So hopefully they can catch up on like 8 different videos if they want.
Well, this is something she wrote. It's like she's got like it numbered, like basically, what her problems were with, and it does have the link to Debbie's video in here too.
Okay.
I didn't want to see Debbie's video.
Not a good.
What was that video like? Was it really bad? Like I've heard people say something about it, and I haven't watched it. I haven't watched.
It's Debbie.
It's Debbie. Debbie's intense.
I think it's in a lot of ways, most situations, I guess, good. She doesn't back down. She sticks to her guns, but I just don't think this is one of them.
Yeah.
So that's what I'll say about that. I think they need to step back and realize.
I have to be honest though. If I thought I was right, I wouldn't back down. I'm sorry, I wouldn't. If I honestly thought it was right, that's the catch. If I honestly thought it was right on this, man, this is not a hill I'm willing to die on. It's just not. It just seems like such a ridiculous thing. It's like, come on, just be adults. Just be adults. That's all I want. Just be adults. Or everybody. I'm saying this.
I'm sorry. I'm a white liberal, and I didn't understand, and I want to learn how I can do this better. Pretty easy. I didn't understand because it's not my experience. So
I'm uncomfortable. Yeah, I guess I'm uncomfortable with the language. Maybe it's the formality of the language. Maybe that's what's throwing me. I'm uncomfortable. It's like I don't understand. It is this emotional thing, and I'm like, I don't experience it that way. So for me, it's okay. I'm leaving you to devices. That's as far as for me. That's where it is. It's honestly, I keep saying this, and I know I repeat this. What's the world you want to live in? And if the world you want to live in means you want to be left to your devices to do the things that you want to do, you have to give people that respect. If I want to take a Buddhist philosophy, if I want to take this philosophy of all people are equal, fair enough. As an equal person, they can make a determination to be among themselves. Have at it. However they want to do it. Are you telling me you're going to begrudge them for it? I guess my response to this is the equation that gets everybody out of this situation, out this thicket, is allowing people to be themselves. That's the mix. If you want an answer, the answer is easy. The question is, are you going to let people be who they are? Including fucking up. Including fucking up. Meaning they're going to make mistakes. And as a person, you're going to say, okay, I understand that as a person, you're going to make mistakes. So fair enough. I'm not going to blow this as a big deal. Problem was it was made public. So
yes. Right. Well, yes, that I think it was maybe a lesson in like take a breather.
Don't make shit public. Don't make it public.
Right. That too. Yeah. Wait a little while or something. But
it's like calm down first. And look, I respect Debbie on this front too. That's my buddy. I'm going in. That is my buddy, and I'm going in.
Yeah, I think you have to be able to recognize when you need to fix something too. No,
I agree. I'm talking purely from the standpoint of a friendship. I agree. I am bad on this front because I look at things and say to myself, what's more true? Not necessarily the bias or the entanglements. In that particular case, I think I would have said, yeah, your friend is wrong. I think I would have just said your friend is wrong here. But look, that's my perspective. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
If you're taking the opinion of love and light and above it all, then yeah, you're not gonna fully grasp it. You're gonna think to yourself, these people should be further along, and that's a problem. Perspective. I think that's the problem. Perspective. You're just in a world that it's not there.
Mm-hmm. Right.
All right. Okay. Thank you guys very much, and I'm sure we'll be talking in the future quite often. So
yeah.
Okay. See you guys.
Bye, guys.
Thank you everyone that's watching. Bye.
Good night.
Bye-bye.